Okay, teach now. Welcome to Russia. This is my class. So today, I have my friends here and family members are going to be taking part in my class. And today we're going to be talking about the impact of imperialism in the Americas, specifically. So, last week we discussed motivations for why Europeans were going to the New World. And I wanted to ask you guys if you remember what were the three major motivators? What were the main motivators to going to the New World? Anybody remember?
Okay. Can I translate?
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Поехали в Америку. Yes, of course.
Okay.
It was glory.
Mm-hmm.
They want
Gold. Gold, absolutely, gold, glory, and the last G.
And the last G, it was goods.
Goods and gold, glory, and there's one big one from, especially from Europe, they wanted to bring to the New World. Big motivator.
Religion?
Yes, religion. So God. So
God,
these
yeah.
three, gold, glory, and this one, I can't see it here. Well, gold and glory here, and the last one is Christianity, but gold, God, essentially. Good. So, real quick before we start, you guys all have your KWL charts ready to go. Write down three things that you would like, that you already know about colonization to the Americas, and three things that you want to know. And then at the end of class, for the last section on the L chart, for the L, what we've learned, we'll discuss what we have talked about during this class. Okay? So I'll give you 1 minute to discuss, write down what you know and what you want to know. So go ahead. So, Spain sent over conquistadors. Does anybody know a famous conquistador? Someone that was sent from Spain to the New World as an explorer. Conquistador.
Yep.
So the word.
Cortez.
Okay, so Cortez, Hernan Cortez, Pizarro. So does anybody know where Cortez went?
Where?
Where did he go? Which country did he? Well, I mean, which part of the Americas did he go to? Anybody? He went to Mexico. Absolutely, yes. Another famous one was Pizarro, and Hernan Cortez dealt with the Aztec Indians, and Pizarro dealt with the Incas in Peru. Okay? So again, the conquistadors, what we've already talked about, they're only interested in gold, glory, and bringing over God, Christianity. Good. Next slide. So again, Cortez in Mexico in 1519, and he's the one who he defeated the Aztec Empire. And then, what I just mentioned again, Francisco Pizarro, he went to South America in 1532, and he accomplished the same feat against the Incas in Peru. Absolutely same thing. So, both of these men became very, very popular back in Spain for their work. However, again, with the Native Americans, we're talking about two huge civilizations that were destroyed heavily by the Spanish Empire. Aztec were killed through war and battle, and also died from disease, which was a huge part. Diseases from Europe, and the Incas also had the same. Okay, so the Treaty of Tortosa. Why is this important? We're talking about a treaty between Portugal and Spain. This is Brazil. So Portugal, this very small country here, and this is the rest of it is Spain. Spain got everything on this side of the Treaty of Tortosa here. So this is all Spanish-speaking peoples here. And Brazil, this is the largest country. So Portugal had control over the largest territory. This territory here, this is why they're Portuguese-speaking. And this is why, from Mexico down, the entire rest of the southern down. Okay. So as the colonies in Americas grew, so did the need for cheap and reliable labor. So here's a huge problem. The native population were not good slaves. So they had a huge problem. What they did initially was to have indentured servants, which is not here. But we could talk about this another time. But it'll become a much larger problem. You were asking earlier about slavery. This is the issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had huge areas of land. They were growing tobacco, cotton later will be important, cotton. They'll be growing cotton for clothing. And they had these huge plantations, and they didn't have enough people to work them or produce goods. Tobacco, in the beginning it will be tobacco. In the West Indies, or in the island of Hispaniola, Cuba, this area here in the Caribbean, they were growing sugar. And they needed a large workforce to produce the amount of sugar and tobacco that Europe wanted. Yes.
Oh, sorry, Steve. And I have a question about the plantation war.
Mm.
Is all works were the same, or some works were harder than others?
If
for example,
for
example, sugar plantation or maybe tobacco plantation. Were there competition between slaves to? You understand? Yeah.
Absolutely. The sugar plantations were the worst position that a slave could have. Absolutely horrible working conditions, especially under the Portuguese and Spanish. Now, a lot of people don't talk about. It's not really. Maybe it's talked more in Brazil, but as for at least in part of our American history, a lot of people don't talk about the majority of slaves that were taken from Africa were sent to Brazil, not the United States, and the Caribbean. So they were actually split between three areas. We have North America, English North America. We have the West Indies or the Caribbean, and the last one would be Brazil. And Brazil had the most amount of slaves that were sent to the New World. Working on a sugar plantation under the Spanish was horrible. It was the worst situation you could be in. They were beaten, they were treated horribly, they were absolutely killed without any problem. If you were a slave in North America, not to say that slavery is good at all, but if you were a slave in North America, the situation was much better. Then, again, not saying that slavery is good, but it was a better situation than if you were working on a sugar plantation. It was awful. So just to make sure we're still here on triangular trade, and slavery. Here, it's in this section here of your scaffolding notes. So just make sure you continue taking notes because you'll be needing this for the quiz test. Whenever we're going to have an assessment. So really quick, a few things I want to talk about is about in 1500s, the large number of Africans were bought and transported to the Americas for agricultural work. So we already talked about sugar and we talked about tobacco. Okay, so basically it's a triangular trade. Okay, and the movement of this slave trade resulted in a huge African diaspora, meaning that the African people were being sent over they were being sold into slavery by their own people, or Africans were actually selling their own people to Europeans for goods. And what goods were they looking for? Anybody want to guess? What did African people want? So civilizations that had contact with Europeans, they were selling their own. They were selling other lower African. I guess they would view them lower, simpler tribes. What were they looking for? What did these African tribes want? Guns. Absolutely, they wanted. So this is what the trade basically looked like, how it worked. Raw materials from the New World. This is from America, North America, from the West Indies or Caribbean here, and also South America. They all came from there, such as tobacco, sugar, rum, and cotton. Well, not rum. Sugar was sent here and made into rum. So they took sugar and they made it into rum. And then the same thing. Cotton would be made into clothing, and tobacco was processed and made for smoking purposes. From Europe at this point, they were selling manufactured goods. So these glasses, cotton cloth, iron bars, and weapons were being sent down here, sold in Africa. Some of it was being sold in Africa. Then they would pick up slaves on their ship, and the slaves would then come over through this area is called the Middle Passage. They'd come over and were sold to North America, to the West Indies for the sugar plantations, or down here the sugar plantations in Brazil. So this is basically how the trade worked here. So, quick thing, talking about trade, not just the triangular trade of slavery, but we need to talk about the Columbian Exchange. And does anybody know why it's called the Columbian Exchange?
Because of Columbus.
It's named after Columbus. It's simple as that. So basically, this would be the exchange of people, plants, animals, ideas, and technology were passed between the old world, Europe, and the new world, the Americas. So what was basically the huge positive effect for Europe, it was a big deal, was an influx of new food. Corn, potatoes, these are huge products that people can actually live off of. You can live your entire life off of potatoes. And and
like
survive.
in Russia, yeah.
Yes, like in Russia, we can do it here. Exactly. Exchange of foods. There was some negative process of things that actually happened, specifically disease. The Europeans brought over disease, and it killed millions and millions and millions of native people. So, and this was through sexually transmitted diseases, as well as just normal sickness that they were not used to, and if they had contact with the European that was ill, they could immediately, it could wipe out an entire village or people. The last thing, so I want to talk about, show you, is a list of things that came from the old world that was introduced that could grow in the new world. So wheat, sugar, bananas, rice, grapes, horses. This is a big one. They didn't have cattle. The new world had no animals for domesticating. They didn't really have any. So horses coming over, pigs, cattle, sheep, chickens, bad things, smallpox, measles, and typhus. All of these diseases here were bad. Coming to from the New World to Europe, which led to population growth both in Asia and in Europe. Both of these places, population boom because of corn, potato, and beans, which were really big. Peanuts, squash, pumpkin, tomatoes, avocados, chili pepper, pineapple, to make chocolate, cacao, and tobacco. And this one is quinine, which is actually really important. It's found in tonic water today. But quinine actually helped deal with illness, specifically malaria. So this is a nice chart, nice visual of things that old world gave to the new world and the new world gave to the old world, which really led to population. Okay? So we're going to wrap up the class. The last thing I want to do with you guys right now is on our KWL charts, I would like you to write down 3 things today that we have learned. I'll let you tell me 3 things that you guys have actually learned today. All right?
Yeah, thank you.
So
we tried.
Take a few minutes, and we'll come back. Okay, so you guys have had a few minutes to talk about and discuss and think about what you've learned. So I just want to have a quick little session and just tell me what you've learned. Max, we'll start with you.
Ну, я, во-первых, узнал, что был обмен болезнями, произошел.
Вот. So Max said that he learned a lot about the relations between different nations, European nations and Native Americans. He understands the impact that these Europeans have on the Native Americans. He learned a lot about the diseases and these horrible things that Europeans take to the New World. He learned about that, like different European countries have different relations between them and Native Americans. For example, British, they want to clean the land, and the Spanish, they make law with the Native Americans, and the French, they think about God.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
It was very interesting. It's about Columbian exchange. I don't know that Columbian exchange was after Columbus. As for me, it was very interesting to learn that these new goods from the New World, that they make the population growth in Europe and in Asia. I understand this impact. It's very cool, and it's very interesting to think about it. And it was very interesting thing. Another interesting thing, it was about the northern European countries like Dutch and British. They try to find the Northwest Passage. I don't know about this. I think that this idea was only the Columbus idea to find the India.
Right.
But the British, they have another idea. That's for me. So thank you.
Yeah,
it was a very cool lecture. Yeah, and Max said that it was very interesting lecture.
Great. Well, listen, I really appreciate it. I'd like to thank Zhenya, my brother-in-law, for helping me out. Max, my good friend, and Nikita behind the camera. I really appreciate your help, and I'd like to thank Russia for allowing me to make the video here.